Hello, Kevin Nemacki here, and today we're going to talk about how to write the target statement in our creative briefs. This is an early video in our series on how to write creative briefs and give creative feedback. When you're writing a creative brief and you get to the target statement, the key question that we want to answer is, to whom are we speaking? To what audience? That's the number one thing that we need to answer, but it's easier said than done sometimes. There are a few things that we want to consider when we write the target statement. These are questions. You can think of them as questions that you can pose to yourself and answer, and that helps provide the kind of fodder and information and that you need to write a target statement, and it helps you get those things out on paper to begin with. So one example to consider is the current versus competitive user. Are we speaking to current users, or are we speaking to competitive users that aren't using our products today or services? You can also consider in category versus out of category. That's another thing that you might want to consider. Basically, you want to figure out where's the opportunity and with whom is that opportunity. The second one on our list of things to consider would be the three most important things. So ask yourself, what are the three most important things that I would tell someone about this person in order for them to understand who they are? The third thing on our list of items to consider is attitudes toward the category, attitudes towards your brand or product, and attitudes really towards life in general. Attitudes create a mental picture, and it helps us get inside their head a little bit. So those are three things to consider. Now I want to talk about do's and don'ts, things that we shouldn't just consider, we actually need to do in our brief, and then some things that we want to watch out for. So the first thing on our list of things to do is create a mental picture. You want to try and create a mental picture of the target audience so that someone reading the brief can actually picture that person in their head. We want to use psychographics and behaviors. This helps us get into the mindset and into the life and into what these people are experiencing so that we can relate to them and understand them. So that goes well beyond things like demographics. The third thing that we need to do is describe a single person. Now, when you're writing a statement like this, when you write it as if you're describing a single person, it makes it much easier to add the kind of color and detail you need in order to then give this to a creative team and give them something to work with. So if these are our do's, then there are a few key don'ts that they imply. If we do want to create a mental picture, then we don't want lengthy lists of bullet points. Those are not nearly as helpful. If we do want to use psychographics and behaviors to describe our target, then what we don't want to do is stick to demographics only. Those are not nearly as useful. And if we do want to describe a single person, then we want to avoid being vague. Vague target statements are not nearly as useful, and quite honestly, when you have a vague target statement, you could probably plug it in for just about any brand and it might fit, and that's not a good thing in your creative brief. So these are things to consider, things to do, and things to watch out for. So what I'd like to do now is just look at a couple of examples. One of these examples is what not to do, not so good, and the other example is much stronger. So our first example here is that lengthy bullet point list of demographics. Adults 30 to 55, we have income, 60% female, maybe they have children, or maybe we just describe them in vague terms like we want to go after or communicate to millennial moms. This type of target statement could really be any number of brands, and it's not very useful from a creative perspective because it doesn't tell us anything that's useful in terms of creating creative ideas that are going to resonate with them. Now, in contrast to that, imagine a target statement like the one on the right. CEO mom that serves as the head of household and the breadwinner. She wears a power suit. She likes things in order and sticks to a routine. It makes her feel good when things run like clockwork. That creates a much clearer and stronger mental picture. It gives us an idea of who this person is, what their behaviors are and their mindset, and it's something that's incredibly useful when it comes to coming up with creative ideas that we may be able to play back to and share with this audience. So definitely a much better example than the one on the left. If you use the tips on this board to write your next target statement, I guarantee you're going to be much better off. You're going to have a much stronger creative brief, and your creatives will be able to produce much stronger work. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell if you want to get notifications when videos like this are published again. And if you're interested in more in-depth training on how to write creative briefs and how to give creative feedback, check out the link below in the description for information about our training. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.